Hello guys, welcome back. And today, as you can see, we are inside of Unreal Engine. Right now I'm on a level I created myself. This is a work in progress, but I have stopped as I'm doing some other stuff in the moment. But today I want to show you how to create your own shader inside Unreal Engine. And we are gonna see some different things, but let's start with the basics, how to create a shader and how to name it. That's the most important part of it. Now, uh, now, in order to create a shader, we're gonna do right click and we're gonna look for material. When we are gonna name our material, there's two types of naming conventions we have to do. When we are doing a new material like this one, where we have the node editor graph, we're gonna name it MM. That is the master material, yes, and we're gonna do not that one, this one, and we're gonna set the name we want it, yes, name convention. That's usually how you do it. Then you do OK, and that's all of it. Now, I had created my own one here, and we're gonna see a lot of things in here right now. Before we go we start with how to build an actual shader with the textures we need. Let's go on to the basics we have seen in LinkedIn in our last post, or if you have seen them in our server. When we were talking about Unreal Engine shaders before, we were talking about vectors and those kinds of nodes. So we're gonna create some of them and we're gonna see all over them. So let's start with the first one, which is a constant value or a vector 1. You can create this node with a shortcut doing 1 on your keyboard and left click and you're gonna create it, or just by doing this you write constant and you have it. In fact, if you do tab and you do constant, you're gonna have constant 2 vector, 3 vector, and 4 vectors that are the 4 nodes we're gonna see right now. So first we have the constant value. So if I plug this into our base color, you're gonna see that our color is gonna be black, and if I set this one to 1, it's gonna be white. That's because our constant value gives us grayscale information, meaning 1 is white and 0 is black. When we start to increase our vectors, meaning we go from a constant value or a vector 1, we go to a vector 2 maybe, yes, these things start to change, as you can see. So now we have an output, yes, for both vectors, and we have each separate vector. So let's say I want to do 0.5 of red, 0.2 of green, we're gonna get yellow. Now, the input of both combined give us this color in particular, but I can go only on red and I will have white. And this is because these individual, yes, outputs we have here, the red and green, are not color, are vectors, so the information they are outputting are just as a constant value. They are just black and white information. So if I make a change to this one, it's gonna be the same. So if I increase this, it's gonna increase the black and white value. Now, this concept is applied to, there we go. This concept is applied to the rest of the nodes we're gonna see, like for example a vector 3. When having a vector 3, we can already choose our color, as you can see here, but we need to take our value to the top in order to see it. Yes, so we're gonna get this here, and we can play around with our colors and so on. Now remember, we are talking about vectors, not only colors, meaning we have our X, our Y, and our Z in this node. Finally, we have our vector 4. Our vector 4, as you might already know, it has all the outputs together in one, and then you have red, green, blue, and you have your alpha. Now all of these nodes can be created by just pressing 1 left click, 2 left click, 3 left click, and finally 4 and left click. Now Why are these nodes so important? Well, you're about to see it in the next moments. So, for this particular video, what I did was I downloaded some Megascan textures that you can see here. So I'm gonna drop them here, and we're gonna start with the base color actually. Yes. No, this one's gonna be here, and this one's gonna be here. So let us have it here. This is a texture sample. A texture sample is just a node that contains the texture or an image we wanna have, and each texture sample has a type, you know, color, grayscale, alpha, normal, mask, and it's gonna depend on the type of image you have. And you can see the type of image you have when you double click on an image, you open it, and you can see it here in the compression settings. These ones you have: default, normal, mask, grayscale, and so on. Now we're not gonna get into detail with this right now. We don't want to see it right now, but we are gonna keep up with the shader creation. So when we are talking about shaders, yes, we can just click the RGB channel, yes, and plug it into our base color, and that's it. We have the base color of our texture for a brick wall, and we can do the same with a normal map. That's around here, and that's it. But unfortunately, that's not all of it. So I'm gonna show you what usually you would have to include into these two materials when working on your personal projects. When it comes to the more professional world, well, it's gonna really depend on the kinds of engine you're working on and the kind of tools your studio have. For example, there are some we are gonna create today, most probably an equation in order to control the normal intensity. Yes, it's just a quick and cheap one, and maybe I'm doing my own version, but when you get to a real studio, the version is gonna be completely different. So let's jump and get back to it. So first, we're talking about tiling textures, meaning these textures can tile, but right now our textures can't tile because there's nothing to tell them we have to tile. So we are gonna create, yes, this node by doing, you can do right click or tab, and you're gonna write coordinates. Yes, by writing COO, you already have the texture coordinate node, and this node is gonna allow us to tile our textures. So I'm gonna plug in both textures, and remember, do it in the UVs. Yes, this is taking the UV information of your object. So we're gonna apply both, and we can see here that we can start to tile it, as you can see. Now this is just, I mean, we are tiling our texture, but in order to tile our texture, we have to get inside our graph and change the values here, you know, and we have to do one at a time. We have to do 3 here, and we are gonna have 2 underneath, so we have to come here and change it again to 3. So that's just too uncomfortable and not worth having. So we're gonna start doing some math, and we're gonna start including some nodes that are gonna be more like math expressions that's gonna be just super useful for you, and I'm gonna show you how. So first off, let's unplug this. Yes, and in here I'm gonna show you a small combination, yes, of math expressions. I'm gonna explain it for you. So we're gonna press M and left click, and we are gonna create a multiply node. Yes, we can also search it as multiply here, and it's gonna reach out. So we are gonna connect our output of texture coordinates into our A value. Yes, and we are gonna plug this into our texture samples again. As you can see, now if you multiply the value of our texture coordinates by the value of B, we are gonna tile everything at the same time, because the multiply is actually a math expression, and what we are multiplying is the output of this node, meaning the combination of the vertical and horizontal tiling of our UVs, and we are multiplying by this value, meaning every time we increase the constant B value, yes, the value of the texture coordinate is going to increase in equal way, because we have a 1 here. So 1 by 3 is going to be 3, and any kind of number you multiply by 1 is going to be the same number. So now we have a way of tiling our texture, with just changing one only number. But is that enough? Is there a way we can make this easier? Yes. When you are actually working with materials, you're gonna do something inside Unreal Engine or your engine. You're gonna do something that is called material instance, and we're gonna see it right away. So we have seen the constant. Yes, this is a constant value. I'm gonna plug it into our B, and the value is 0. So we have to come here and set it to 1. Now, for the following step, we are gonna do this on 2 different ways. First one is gonna be we're gonna right click and we are gonna convert it to parameter. Yes, and this will allow us to put a name to our node called tiling, and we are gonna save this. In our tiling we have a default value that's gonna be 1, and we're gonna leave it there. Sorry. Oof, I needed some air. Then we're gonna go to our shader, we're gonna do right click, and we're gonna do create material instance. And we are gonna change the first part to my for material instance instead of master material. And we are going to open it. And this is how a material instance looks like, and you can see that right over here under global scalar parameter values we have our tiling. And if we start playing with this, we start to tile our material. So this is what we actually want to do with our shaders. We want to do a shader that we can duplicate here, or just create an instance, drop it in our scene, and change the values as we want. So for example, I have this one, yes, in here, just a small one I'm doing that still needs some fixing. But as you can see all the things I can do. I can change the normal intensity of my scene. I can change the roughness as I want to. I can even change the tint of my color, as you can see. So these are very useful tools that we will be seeing and playing around with. So there's 2 ways of just exposing a parameter. One is what we have already seen. We create our constant value or node and we do right click on top of it and convert to parameter. Or in this case, for this kind of node that are constant values, if we want to make them parameters, we can just do S and left click, and we are gonna create a constant parameter, constant value parameter. So we're gonna add something else that is new to Unreal. This is more from Unreal Engine 5, and we are gonna do it here, and this is called reroute nodes. Yes, and this, I must tell you guys, this is just amazing to have because it helps you organize your graph so damn good. Now this reroute nodes is just like building your own node but inside your shader graph. Basically we have created something and we want to use it several times, so instead of just having all these lines all over our graph, we just create these nodes that have an input and they have output nodes. So instead of having the lines go from here to here, you just have a node, and it's cleaner than anything else. So we're gonna do tiling for this one, and we're gonna change the color to red. Now, if you're feeling a little bit more organized, you can always do a comment. Yes, you did this by choosing the nodes. Yes, you just choose your node, and then you do C, and you will create a comment section. You can change color and name on this one, so I'm gonna do also color because I recognize red because of the texture coordinates, so this is gonna be tiling for me. I'm gonna have this here. Now I'm gonna introduce you, yes, a new map, but it's gonna be later, and this is a packed map. This is something not many people talk about nowadays, and I feel it's like if you want to work in the industry, you need to know about packed maps and packed textures. You will have to see them, and we are going to talk about them, believe me. So we are not going to use this right now, but we are going to see it in the future. What other things can we do for our first video? So now we have our tiling. We know how to tile. What else can we do? We're going to change our base color. Yes, and we're gonna do it a really simple equation that's gonna be adding some tint. So we're gonna get our RGB value to our B and our vector free to our A. And we are gonna choose the node. Yes, we are adding to our composition, and we're gonna right click and do start previewing node. This way we are gonna see the preview of what this node is showing. So in here we have a lot of colors that are getting into our multiply, and they are being multiplied by 0, so the result is gonna be clearly black. So we need to take our value into 1, and we will have our texture. Now we can change this, or the color of this, that is gonna be like, let's take it like a little bit of paint over your material, and you can do it darker or whiter or softer. You can do it anything you want. In this case, we're just gonna leave it on white because we don't want it to affect our mask. So we're gonna stop previewing, and there we have our base color applied with some tint. Now we have to change this and do parameter. So we want this to be in our material instance. And in fact, we are going to start to do something just to close up this today's and in fact we're going to start to do something now, and we're going to close this video with this, and it's with we're gonna see how to group things for our material instance. So first off, we have our tint here, and we have our texture sample. So we're gonna turn our texture sample to a parameter. Again, right click, compare to parameter. I'm gonna add BC as a name. Yes, it's gonna be down here. I'm gonna do the same with our normal map. Nope, sorry, my bad. I'm gonna put normal now, just to do N on this one. So now when I save this and I go to my material instance, everything is gonna be under global scalar parameter values or global texture parameter values, and we don't have the vector parameter values. So this is quite disorganized. Like, we just started, we have our textures here, and then we're gonna have a lot of exposed parameters going around, and we need to clearly arrange this before it's a mess. So we are going to start creating groups and giving orders. So let's go with base color. So here, when you click on your node, yes, and that node is exposed, you're going to have here material expressions. Material expressions allow us to create groups and sort our priority. So we are gonna do base color here, and I want the texture object to be priority number 1. Good thing about this is that once we have this, we can come here and just do click on the arrow, base color, and we set it to 2. In here we're gonna do normal, and we are gonna set it to 1, despite we don't have anything else on our normal map. Now what we are gonna see is we are gonna get this, and we are just gonna do let's do tiling for the moment. That's the only thing we're gonna have here as far as it goes. With time going on, we will start to see what we are going to add. Now, when we get to our material instance, you will see that now we have everything organized. We have our base color, our normal, and our tiling. And we can even change the order of these groups, as you can see here. So we have our tiling first in our list instead in the bottom of it. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. This was a short one. I really want to show you like the essentials and basics of when you're starting a shader inside Unreal Engine, as we are gonna see a lot of things in the shader creation process. Most especially, we're gonna see a lot of things in the shader creation process because most of the things we are going to create are for specific needs. So most of the times, or including some things you're gonna see here, they are gonna be things you are actually not gonna need in your personal projects. But when you go into a scene or a professional job, you're gonna really need them, and if it's better for you to have them, you know. And these are things that you can already like you can build once and you can have them saved, and that's the best of working with Unreal Engine shaders. So as I was saying before, thanks for coming along, and I hope to see you in the next chapter.